This is Letter from America. Today's topic is Zimbabweans massively reject ZANU-PF and the Zimbabwe dollar. For Mnangagwa, Chiwengwa, and ZANU-PF, the year 2022 has started very badly for the party that has misruled Zimbabwe for 41 years. Just in the past 5 weeks, ZANU-PF has suffered 3 knockout blows that sent the party reeling and disoriented. The first blow was the sign of Zimbabweans are rising to claim their human rights, their democracy, and their country. The spectacular excitement among Zimbabweans on the new CCC and the yellow color has shocked ZANU-PF and left the Mnangagwa party incoherent. Just watch and listen to how ZANU-PF is responding to the CCC. First, a ZANU-PF spokesman declared the party would not allow CCC to use the yellow color because they say it belongs to ZANU-PF. Then another member of ZANU-PF said CCC represents the numbers 666, which are the letters of the devil. Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, as I said earlier, suffered a triple blow in the last 3 to 5 weeks. First, Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF were completely outsmarted by the formation of CCC and the adoption of the yellow color. ZANU-PF had expected Chamisa's MDC alliance to come up with a variation of MDC alliance. That way, ZANU-PF was hoping to use whatever strategies, whether the captured judiciary, police, or imitations of MDC, to subvert the MDC alliance. They were also hoping that Douglas Monzora's theft of the MDC alliance name would split the MDC alliance vote. They were also hoping that the money under political parties financing, which was illegally given to Monzora, would strengthen Monzora's name recognition and campaign. That did not work. ZANU-PF and Monzora have been left holding an empty bag after the formation of the CCC. That was the first blow to Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, but that was not all. The CCC name and the yellow color have had a mobilizing impact on an otherwise dormant Zimbabweans. Spontaneous marches across the country with people in yellow clothes and running alongside vehicles with big, bold CCC labels signaled a reawakening of the giant, especially the Zimbabwean youths. It appears that mainly Zimbabwean youths, who form the bulk of the population giant for the country, have been awakened not only by the CCC name and the color yellow, but also by heroes like Makomborero Zwinawashe, who have uttered several clarion calls for action. In his letter from jail, Makomborero wrote, "We are many, they are few. We are whom we have been waiting for. Let us not let the devil escape with the Bible in front of the congregation. This potentially great awakening among the Zimbabwean youths emerges from the realization that the Zimbabwean youths have the strength in numbers to confront and defeat the brutal regime through the power of the vote or sustained mass demonstration. And also the realization that no one else will come to their rescue. And when these brave youths flexed their muscles by marching and showcasing the CCC and yellow color, even the police appeared helpless to stop them. Yes, there were some attempts by the police to stop the youths. But many other youths were regrouping elsewhere. In all cases, these brave and courageous youths demonstrated their newly found strength and courage and resilience. And this strength was not only demonstrated through street marches, but creative strategies like music, social media posting of ways to encourage the struggle to maintain its momentum. Momentum is a key word in the struggle. In the past, demonstrations used to be a one-day event. But this new generation of youthful leaders are now pushing for the continuation of the struggle through a wide range of means: marches, social media postings, music, and dance. Zimbabwean youths are now fully embracing Samora Machel's mantra, "A luta continua." The struggle continues to its logical conclusion. Not until sunset, not until police say stop, but to its logical conclusion. Zimbabwean youths know the stakes are very high and that their future is being gambled away and undermined by rampant corruption and a state that is effectively captured by Zanu PF. Like the sounds of the distant rumble of an earthquake, Mnangagwa and Zanu PF know this may be the early signs of a protracted struggle for liberation by any means necessary by the Zimbabwean youths. There can be no doubt that Mnangagwa and Zanu PF are planning a big retaliation that may involve reinforced police, army units, and militia thugs. The situation in Zimbabwe is similar to apartheid South Africa, especially in 1975, when the apartheid regime unleashed its full armed police and army on anti-apartheid protests by the youths in Soweto. Whatever the regime did, the momentum for the struggle continued. And 20 years later, South Africa gained its black-ruled independence in 1994. Mnangagwa and Zanu PF may appear to have successfully regained control, but the Zimbabwean youths, like the Soweto youth in 1975, must see theirs as a long-term struggle whose momentum must always be maintained. There is internal dissent within Zanu PF, as shown by the chaotic provincial elections. Corruption is so pervasive that there is a big struggle for resources. The late Bishop Desmond Tutu once described this struggle in Zanu PF on corruption as a struggle in the gravy train. Some scooped more gravy for themselves, leaving others without anything, and they were thrown out of this gravy train, Bishop Tutu said. Now they are fighting to get back into the gravy train. Many of the ZANU PF top brass who were thrown out of the gravy train are now trying to team up with the main opposition party, the same party they helped to oppress while they were still in the gravy train. The national question for Zimbabweans is, if Mnangagwa and ZANU PF offers to re-engage the expelled and exiled ZANU members who are now befriending CCC and promise them a place and more gravy in the gravy train, will they still support the struggle for human rights, democracy, and free and fair elections? The second blow to ZANU PF was the criticism of human rights violations in Zimbabwe, especially by Western delegates at the working group of the Universal Periodic Review of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Delegates from the United States, Canada, Britain, Australia, Germany, Norway, and others were very specific in their long list of recommendations on human rights violations in Zimbabwe. They demanded that Zimbabwe must take all necessary steps to ensure free and fair presidential and parliamentary elections in 2023, including facilitating access to identity documentation and voter registration. They also demanded that Zimbabwe must take all necessary steps to ensure civil society actors and human rights defenders can operate freely without fear of intimidation or reprisals. Ensure that allegations of human rights abuses are promptly and transparently investigated and perpetrators held to account. Impose an official moratorium on the death penalty with immediate effect. Commute all existing death sentences to terms of imprisonment and abolish the death penalty in national legislation. Repeal all laws and policies discriminating against the LGBTI persons and amend laws to ensure their rights and freedoms are safeguarded. Repeal of Zimbabwe's Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Fully implement the recommendations of the Mohlante Commission of Inquiry report. Fully implement the recommendations of the 2018 Election Observer reports. Establish an independent complaints mechanism to investigate and hold accountable members of the security forces who allegedly engaged in violations and abuses. Enforce security and due process laws adopted under the 2013 Constitution that prohibit arbitrary arrests and prolonged detentions. Allow the practice of constitutionally guaranteed freedoms of expression, peaceful assembly, and association for all, and respect and guarantee the separation of powers to ensure judicial independence and impartial decision-making, and also respect and guarantee independent and transparent processes for the appointment, dismissal, and extension of tenure for judges. These demands from the Western countries clearly showed that Zimbabwe is under the spotlight for human rights violations. It is, however, not clear what the Western countries will do if Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF continue to violate human rights. But there is hope and expectation that the Western countries, at the very least, will take some nominal or symbolic action one way or the other, but only and only if the Zimbabweans under the CCC and yellow color mobilization maintain the momentum in their protests. The African Union and SADC have very sadly become spectators in the human rights violations in Zimbabwe. They have become completely resigned to the situation in Zimbabwe. The ultimate message to Zimbabweans is you are on your own. And young people, young Zimbabweans appear to have heeded this message, judging by their activism since the formation of CCC and the adoption of the yellow color. The third blow to Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF was or is the deteriorating exchange rate crisis in the Zimbabwean dollar and its massive rejection by Zimbabweans. Nobody wants to use the Zimbabwe dollar. Even some government transactions are done in the US dollars. The Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF regimes attempt to prop up and incentivize the use of the Zimbabwean dollar is like putting lipstick on a pig in the hope that the pig will win a beauty contest. That will not happen. This continued decline of the Zimbabwe dollar is a result of a shoddy monetary policy of the ZANU-PF regime that dates back to the 1990s. In the last few weeks, there has been a sharper, more concerted, more absolute rejection of the Zimbabwean dollar by the Zimbabwean masses. To conclude, Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF have, in just a matter of a few weeks, suffered a triple blow of the awakening of the Zimbabwean masses into a potential sustained protest movement, the harsh criticism of Zimbabwe human rights violations by the United Nations, and the utter and complete and absolute rejection of the Zimbabwean dollar by the Zimbabwean masses. And we are only in the second month of the year 2022. Fortune tellers, masvikiro, ngangas, prophets, and astrologists may this time be right and accurate in predicting that 2022 will be a very rough ride for Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF.
This concludes today's broadcast of Letter from America, a weekly in-depth analysis of the situation in Zimbabwe. Thank you for listening.
Warm welcome, our viewers and listeners, to this episode of Letter from America. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to read a few comments. I have posted a link in the comments section for anybody who would like to join the live stream and comment on what we just listened to the video from Dr. Stan MUKASA titled Letter from America, of which today's episode is titled Mnangagwa, Zimbabweans massively reject Zanu PF and the Zimbabwean dollar. Martin Sibanda says Zanu PF, if they are not careful, will lead the nation into war. I hope that doesn't happen, and I trust that it will not happen. I think everything that is happening in Zimbabwe is happening on God's timeline, and He is just going to move things in such a way that we will have a smooth transition to a new government, because the Zimbabwean people they have stood strong for a long time, resisting provocation by ZANU PF. In most countries, war would have broken out a long time ago, but the Zimbabwean people have been resolute. They have stood strong and maintained their peace despite all that they have been put through by ZANU PF. And for that, I know the Zimbabwean people have a special place in God's heart, and He is working things in their favor. I can feel it in my spirit that 2023 is the year of deliverance. Stanley Becky Kumalo says Ian Smith gave ZANU PF the most beautiful country in Africa. Very true. Zimbabwe was referred to as the breadbasket of Africa. Zimbabwe was called Rhodesia with strong currency, which was equivalent to 40 to the US dollar. Wow. Stanley Becky Kumalo is saying that when we took independence in 1980, the Zimbabwean dollar was equivalent to $1 US. Imagine how powerful it was. But 42 years after they changed Rhodesia into Zimbabwe, we are witnessing a total eradication of our beautiful nation. As a nation, we lost everything. We have lost almost everything, my brother, but God is graceful. We have each other, and that is what we need the most. Because if we can stand together as one people and speak with one voice, the ZANU PF officials know. They know that we are the only people who have the mandate to elect our leadership or to fire them. They have, for a long time, taken advantage and used the divide and conquer method, where they kept us separated in different groups, teachers in their own groups, nurses in their own groups, and sort of using us to prevent us from uniting, because they know that when the people of Zimbabwe unite and they come together with the one purpose of removing the ZANU PF regime, there's nothing that they can do, because we are the ones who own this country. It is us, the citizens of Zimbabwe, who are owners of the country. And as owners of the country, we are the ones who have the right to choose who we want to employ to direct affairs of our country, because that's what government officials do. That's what leaders of countries are supposed to do, to simply direct the affairs of the country on our behalf, and they are paid from our taxes. We pay them, and so we choose who we want to do that job for us. They know it, but they take advantage of the apathy that has been prevalent in Zimbabwe for a long time, where people would proudly say, I don't do politics, and they let ZANU PF do as they please with the country. So ZANU PF know that when we come together and speak with one voice, there is nothing that they can do to stop us. Dana Simbi says, no, it was 1 to 1 British pound. Wow, that's even more powerful. The pound is more powerful than the US dollar. So the Zimbabwean dollar was very, very strong when ZANU PF took over. But today, I'm not sure, is it? I'm not even sure. It keeps changing all the time. Weddington Sambana says, I'm going to vote CCC. We are tired of our uncle Dambudzo. Yes, I'm so happy to hear that. And I've seen these sentiments everywhere, and including in some groups like Mvenge, where before, if a post that had anything to do with the future of Zimbabwe or with politics in any way was posted on the group, no one would comment, no one would even put a like. But these days, I've been seeing in different groups, when a post about CCC is posted, or something to do with the future of our nation, you find thousands of comments. And then I was so happy because I was going through those comments and just reading to see what people are saying. And most of those comments were pro CCC, they were pro citizens. And out of over 50 comments that I sampled, I only found 1 or 2 who seemed to, speak for ZANU PF. But I'm so happy to see that trend in groups where there are lots of young people who spent most of the time in those groups just discussing things to do with Mighty T, Madam Boss, or who was caught where with who doing what and what happened. But now they're engaging in these talks, and what I found most heartwarming is that most of them were not scared to express their true feelings about CCC, and to say they are tired of ZANU PF. So, I can feel it in my spirit that this is it. This is it. Come 2023, we are waving goodbye to ZANU PF. Weddington Sambana says, we are tired of Dambudzo. Yes, I think this is a widespread sentiment throughout the nation of Zimbabwe. People are tired. People just want life to get back to normal. People just want an educational system that works, a health system that works. People just want to get jobs so they can feed their families, put a roof over their heads and food on the table. Yes, we are all tired, and God is in it. So let us stay strong. Let us continue to encourage each other. Let us continue to encourage everybody, especially the young, to register to vote, because I know that the CCC leadership, they are constantly planning. You see what they did with the name change and the color change and everything. For a long time, people thought they were not doing anything, and a lot of people had started actually to lose hope. But they were working in the background, planning, and when the time was right, they released the new baby CCC. So let us keep our faith and our hope up. I know there are a lot of questions that sometimes people ask to do with the 2023 elections, how we can make sure that, we are not rigged again, how we can ensure that the army will not intervene to prevent the exchange of power, the transition of power. But let's have faith and trust that the CCC leadership are aware of these issues and they are working on them in silence, and they will release their bone in just in good time. And remember, God is in this. He is guiding their steps, their footsteps. So it will all happen in God's time. We don't need to worry about how is it going to happen, but it is the time. The time has come. God has set this time that 2023 is time for a new Zimbabwe to be born again. And so God has already set the ball in motion. You can see it, you can feel it. You can see how bold people have become in wearing yellow, walking around wearing yellow, distributing bananas. How many TikTok videos I've seen, people dressed in yellow, singing, dancing, whatever they are doing, something which people were too scared to do just a few weeks ago. So it is God's time. And have you seen how there hasn't been much of a response against this? This blow was unexpected, and it just weakened the ZANU PF, and they realize it. They realize that they are up against a, a, a giant, because the people of Zimbabwe are a giant. In numbers, we outnumber ZANU PF by far. It is only through fear and intimidation that they stop us from coming together and speaking out with one voice. But their time has passed, their days are numbered. Anzina tambudzai bangira yellow kuseri kwekuseri. Don't say. Yeah, yellow ndizvo. Geoffrey says, it's all good having hope, but surely Zach is already running its mischievous errands. Why can't opposition clamp on this notorious Zach? Geoffrey, do you have any ideas what the opposition could actually do to clamp on Zach? Because these are discussions which have been held on many platforms many times. What we can do, yes, we understand that reforms are very much needed, but the problem is that the most we can do is to demand reforms. We can protest, but the reforms have to be implemented from within the government. But if you have any ideas what we can do to force them to reform, there is a link that I posted in the comment section. If you scroll up, you will find a link by Change Radio or by Zim. Just click on that link. It will bring you into the live stream, and you can share if you have any ideas how Zek can be forced, or ZANU can be forced to implement reforms. Because you see, as the CCC leadership has said, this is our baby now. This is a citizens movement. It is in our hands, and it is our responsibility to chart the way forward for this revolution now. So let's get together whenever we can. Let's discuss. Let's come up with ideas. And I know that together we will get there. It doesn't look like anybody is coming in to join the live stream. So I would just like to thank you all for joining us today on this episode of Letter from America. Today, our episode was titled Zimbabweans Massively Reject Zanu and Zim Dollar. Oh, Anna, my sister Anna Msanangurumbaewa, you would like to join. Let me post the link again. I just posted the link there, Anna Msanangurumbaewa. Please just click on that link, which is written https://streamyard.com/whatnot. If you click on that link, it will bring you into the live stream, and then you can give your contributions live. While we wait for Anna to join, we could look at some of the comments that came in earlier on. Martin Sibanda says ZANU PF, if they are not careful, will lead the nation into war. Yes, I'm really hoping that will not happen. And I am actually trusting that, God will give us a fluid transition into the new Zimbabwe. I feel it in my spirit that, the Zimbabwean people have been so resilient. They've been provoked in so many ways where most people from other countries would have retaliated and maybe a civil war could have broken out a long time ago. But the Zimbabwean people have maintained peace in the face of extreme terror, oppression, and provocation. And so I feel, the Zimbabwean people have a special place in God's heart, and He is working things out for us in the background. So I am really hopeful, and I have faith that we will not be forced into a war. I am very confident that there are things which are happening in the background which most of us can't see, but God is working things in our favor. Hanzi natapiwa chapotoka Mwari vakatonyora kuti 2023 ZANU will be gone. I feel strongly the same way too, my brother Tapiwa. Zvese zviri kuitika at the moment, I just feel it kuti, I see the hand of God in it. The timing of the release of the new baby, the CCC baby, and the way it has impacted the citizens, the way they have received it. Oh, Anna Msanangurumbaewa wanted to join this live stream and give her contributions, but she's saying she's having problems doing that on her phone. She would need a laptop. All right, my sister, no problem. Just try a few more times and see what happens, so we can hear what your contributions are. It will be really good to hear. So I would like to encourage anybody else who would like to join this live stream to discuss anything to do with the revolution that we have on our hands right now. If you have issues that you think that we need to address and find solutions to, if you have suggestions or what you think we need to, focus our efforts on, I have posted a link in the comments. If you are on Change Radio, Facebook or YouTube page, you can just click on the link that was posted by Change Radio. If you are on ZimI, click on the link that was posted by Zim. It will bring you straight into the live stream, and you can start a conversation or comment on the contents of the video that we watched today, or make suggestions. All your contributions are most welcome and will be forwarded to those who can act on them. If you have questions, feel free, join this live stream and let us talk. I would also like to inform you that at 8 o'clock, Hopeful Chingono and the Citizens Coalition for Change, represented by the SG, Charlton Wende, are going to be on Twitter Spaces, and Hopeful is inviting everyone to come and ask any questions regarding the CCC movement's preparedness for the election. So if you have any questions to ask concerning how CCC is prepared for the 2023 elections, be sure to join us right here on Zim and on Change Radio Facebook and YouTube platforms. We will be airing the Twitter Spaces live, and we will try to forward your questions to the hosts of the Twitter Spaces if it's possible. If not, but we will make sure we forward them to some CCC leadership so they can also hear what concerns we have here on Facebook and YouTube. So I'm just inviting you to come back at 8 o'clock for this Twitter Spaces, which is being hosted by Hopo Chingono and the Triple C movement, being represented by the Secretary General Charlton Wende. Tinashe Manuere says, let's vote and remove this Makawarara. Yes, exactly. Our vote is our best bet. And even if we were to have other means and methods of trying to ensure we remove these people, going through the vote is the easiest way to start, even if it's going to be, like a struggle. If we vote and our vote is rigged, we can then leverage that momentum of the election, spirit. We leverage that to lead into a struggle. So let's go and vote. Let's not worry about rigging, but let's go in knowing that we will vote and we will stay to defend our vote, and we will do what it takes this time around. We will not go back home until Zanu PF steps down. That's the only thing we need to keep in mind going forward. Let's not keep our eye focused on what we don't know, what we think is difficult or can cause problems, but let us forge forward knowing that God is with us in this, and He will work things out for us. He will put confusion in the camp of the enemy, and things will just happen which we did not see, we did not foresee coming or happening. So 2023 is our year. It is written in the stars. it is written in the spiritual realm that 2023 is the year, and ZANU PF know it. This is why they are looting the way that they are looting. Can you see the way they loot? That's not the way a person who expects to still continue in power loots. Oh, they are looting and doing nothing to gain the trust of the citizens, of the masses. You know, their actions they're making it very obvious that they do not expect to win the 2023 election. So there are people who are desperately trying to stash away as much as they can before they are kicked out. The only thing they will do is the last kicks of a dying horse, you know, to try and discourage people with propaganda, to try and instill fear in people. But fear is the one they draw their power from. As long as they manage to keep us fearful, they stay in power. But we have to overcome that fear, and we have to work with faith and confidence and stand with one voice and tell them once and for all that their time is up. They already know it too. So all that it needs is for us to, you know, make the final cut. And 2023 is the year, and God is in it with us. 2023, God is doing it for us. All He needs is for us to have faith and to not be fearful. And He will work this miracle for us. So I would like to just thank you all for joining us for this week's episode of Letter from America, and to encourage you to go and register to vote if you are in a position to, and if you have not yet registered to vote, please encourage especially the young ones who for a long time have had taken no interest in issues to do with the running of the country. They are the leaders of today and tomorrow. We need them to take an interest in what is happening in their country, in how their country is being run. So let's encourage them to take an interest. Let's encourage them to register to vote, so that come 2023, we can have a resounding victory. If you have any questions to do with voter registration, there's a toll-free number that you can call. It's 08080219. The number is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And if you are a registered voter and you would just like to ensure that your name and your details are still correct in the voters roll, you can check it on the internet on this link, which is showing on the banner on the screen right now. I can also post this link in the comment section so that it's easy to just click on it and it will redirect you there. If you do click on this link and you don't immediately get through to the page, it's probably because a lot of people are trying at the moment to access this site to check their voter status. So there's a bit of traffic jam there. So just wait a few minutes, say, and try again. But with that, I would just like to wish you all a very blessed week and to thank you for joining us on today's episode of Letter from America, and to invite you to join us again at 8 o'clock when we will be live streaming, hopefully on us Twitter Spaces with SG Wende, where they are inviting questions to do with the CCC movement's preparedness for the elections. And I would also like to invite you to join us again next week, same place, same time, for the next episode of Letter from America. And with that, I would just like to wish you a blessed evening today. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Vanambuya nana sekuru kumamisha nehama dzose dzisati dzaziva ndine shoko guru randinoda kubudzai Nelson Chamisa wave nebato itsva iri danho rakatorwa mushure mekunge paonekwa kuti zita reMDC rakange rasvibiswa nemhandu mwonzo rakomichina nakupe nevamwe. Saka kana mave kuzoenda kunovhota munofanira kucherekedza kwazvo chiso chachamisa nemasi matatu pamwe neruvara rwemabhanana. Votera Nelson Chamisa, voterai pamasi matatu. Voterai Nelson Chamisa, voterai paruvara rwemabhanana. Voterai Nelson Chamisa, voterai pamasi matatu. Voterai Nelson Chamisa, voterai paruvara rwemabhanana.